Hello, this is Workbench. I'm Seth Werkheiser, along with Bill Meese, two people who work in music and love technology, and we want to share some of our nerdy knowledge to help make your work easier and more manageable. So, Bill, we've been talking about this for a while, and here we are. We're doing it in 2015.
Hello, Seth Werkheiser.
This is fun.
Yeah, this is a long time coming. I don't think we could have put more text messages, emails, and Snapchats into planning episode number 1 than we did for this one.
We've used a variety of online tools to put this together, but I think the way me and you have done that and worked over the years, I think that all comes together, and we're putting this good knowledge to use, and I think it'll be helpful to people that listen too. So
absolutely, I forgot who said it. I think it might have been Seth Godin, who just said, "Ship it, get it out there."
Yes, that was Linchpin, I think.
Yes,
yeah.
So that was the motivation behind this episode was let's stop talking about it and just do it.
Right. The fact too that this won't be perfect, but if we keep waiting for it to be perfect, the perfect time, we won't ever do it.
Right. So let's go. This episode is about email management and why we keep drowning in email. So, Seth, why are we drowning in email?
Yeah, I'd have to say just because it's something that we've been using over the years, it seems to always work. It's reliable. Everybody's notified of it every 12 seconds on their smartphones that they're carrying. So I think that's why we're drowning in email.
Right. I think we're drowning because it's been the one internet tool that has been constant along so many years of things that have come and gone, and email has only become more and more important as things like the phone and actually working in an office with people has declined over the years. So, but this episode is going to go over that and a lot of other things. We're going to cover things like email basics, tools that will help you get out of the deep end, different behavior tips that can maybe inject one small little change into your daily routine that might make a big outcome in the end. And then finally with email etiquette tips, which I'm kind of upset we even have to talk about, but it seems to be something that keeps popping up. So I wanted to put it on this episode because it is flat out necessary, to be quite honest with you. So
Absolutely.
So yeah, let's jump right in. What are the email basics, Seth, for the people out there who aren't familiar with the different kinds of email systems they could be running on their machines? I guess the two most popular would be IMAP and POP. Why don't you tell everybody what the difference between those two are?
Well, I also think too that between POP and IMAP is a lot of people that use just web-based email might not even know about POP and IMAP.
Right. Yeah. That's a big reason why I even want to spell it out, because if you're not setting up email addresses or buying your own domains and starting your own websites and setting this stuff up on your own, then you probably don't even know what this stuff is. So.
Sure. I remember years ago, first getting online, it was just POP mail was the biggest one. It was where you had a local ISP and you checked your email, and your email was downloaded from your local ISP, and that's the only place it was. It was on your computer. It was no longer at the ISP. It wasn't on the cloud. We weren't talking about the cloud back in the mid-90s. So that's the old biggest one. And then, of course, IMAP. The big thing about that is it's synced between, say, your computer at work and your computer at home. Again, years ago, that was your desktop computer at work, your desktop computer at home. But now we have smart devices and iPads and everything else. And what IMAP does is when you get email, it's on all your devices, everywhere, like all the time. So when you delete it on your smartphone, it's deleted off your home computer. If you start writing an email in the office and it saves as a draft, you go home, that email is still a draft on your home computer.
Right.
So that's the big difference between the two. Pop is just, checks your email once, pulls it off the server. That's it. IMAP is this beautiful syncing magic that occurs between all your devices.
Right. And just to be clear, Pop and IMAP are probably the most, the two most different kinds of email systems you can run, aside from Exchange, which is obviously more popular in the business community with Microsoft Windows and machines that are running in most common offices. But Pop, the fact that it only lives, well, first of all, Pop stands for Post Office Protocol, which was, coined because it's a lot like a post office. You get a letter delivered to your mailbox. That's where it stays until you do something with it. And when you take it out of your mailbox, it's gone. It's not there anymore. So the file moves with you. It doesn't live on a server somewhere else. It lives on your local machine. And if you delete it, then it's gone. And if you move it somewhere, then wherever you moved it to is where it lives. Which all in all makes Pop a complete nightmare if you have multiple devices like most of us have these days. So, if you get 10 emails in your inbox using Pop, you delete, move, or archive any of those things on your machine, it won't be reflected on your iPad, your iPhone, your Galaxy Nexus, or whatever else you're using. So it ends up just being a lot more work than it's worth, in my opinion.
And it also makes search a nightmare, because going back and trying to find something, what device do I have it on? That's a nightmare. Right.
And to be clear, most people I know and and I hope are using IMAP at this point, just because Pop seems to be so outdated. But the reason why I'm even talking about it on this episode is the fact that I've, as recently as a few weeks ago, I've spoken to people who are still using Pop, and I was pretty much blown away. So, I don't understand how that. I guess if you have one machine and you only use one machine, that could be one way it works, but I don't know.
But I can't imagine working in different locations, and even if you only have one machine, chances are you have a smartphone.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if someone didn't have a smartphone, hypothetically, which would put them in the minority immediately, but if they only had a laptop, say, and they had an old flip phone or something, then maybe it could make sense, but even then, I don't know, man.
That's a nightmare.
Yeah. But email is not going away, and there have been numerous studies and reports. I mean, all you have to do is Google email last year, and you can get an avalanche of statistics. And I did that recently, and I found out, which was kind of even surprising to me, someone who gets hundreds of emails a day, that the total number of worldwide email accounts is expected to increase from, check this out, 3.9 billion accounts in 2013 to over almost 5 billion accounts by the end of at the end of 2017, which just boggles my mind. That many email addresses. That just tells me I'm going to get more email, and you're going to get more email.
And it's funny too, because I mean, over the years, me on the editorial side, who receives a gajillion emails over the years, and you on the press side, who's sending emails, a gajillion emails on your side too. I mean, that's for real. I mean, that's totally going to keep going up. Like, that number can't go down. It's just going to keep growing. Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, Seth and I are both veterans, I guess you could say, in the music industry. Seth has a background in I guess, how would you put it, man?
I'd say the editorial world.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Yeah, music blogs, publishing kind of stuff, yeah.
So Seth has been involved in the origins of things like Buzzgrinder, Noise Creep, and things like Skull Toaster, which he works on now. And myself, I've been a publicist for the past 6 or 7 years, and before that was involved in band management and booking tours and shows, and we both were in bands over the years. That's how we met back in 2001, I believe it was. And
on Long Island, yes.
Yes, it was. I think you were playing bass in Pink Daffodils, if I remember correctly.
I certainly was, yes.
So just so the people who are listening to this understand that, we're not two suits that came out of nowhere. We're the musicians that have slept on park benches and in, rest stop vestibules and in vans with, 12 other guys, just to go play a show for $50 back in the day. So we have a little bit invested in this. Hopefully, I would think.
Yeah, I would say all that, over the years, all those miles and playing shows in front of 30 kids to, what we do today. And, the internet and all that good stuff is a big part of that. And that's why we're doing this.
Yeah, man, 30 kids would have been a good show.
Quite true, yes.
So that's the difference between Pop and IMAP. And if you haven't, if you're currently using Pop, stop using Pop and get yourself on IMAP. All you have to do is, just jump on Google and, type in whatever question you want to ask and how to change that, and it should point you in the right direction. It really doesn't take that long.
Why don't we talk about some of the tools that we've been using over the years?
Yeah, this is my favorite part because, talking about the difference between Pop and IMAP can be a little boring, honestly. It's important. It's definitely crucial. But it's not something I think about a lot. I actually had to go back and look some stuff up to make sure I knew what I was saying. But the tools that I use personally to keep my email in order are way more of a constant in my mind because I'm using them every day. And to be clear, there are hundreds of different tools you can look for out there, and each one might suit your needs differently. But the ones that we thought up are some you may have heard of, some you may have not. On the list I'm looking at, there are definitely some that are way more popular than others. But the first one's interesting because they essentially do the same exact thing, but they're two separate services that you and I have kind of organically started using separately.
Somehow we did, yes.
And are you still using it?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, what we're talking about is it's a follow-up tool, and the theory behind that is it enables you to put a separate email address in whatever email you're sending, typically in the blind copy field, that would indicate when you wanted to be notified of that email again. So, for example, say I was pitching Seth on an interview with one of my artists to say, "Hey, Seth, I got this artist, got a new record coming out. This, bullet point, bullet point, bullet point. Would you be interested in doing an interview?" In the blind copy field, I would put, 1 week or 1W or 2W or any variation of a date formula. It's followed by at followup.cc in my case, or in Seth's case, he uses a service called followup. Then what's the suffix for that?
It's .com.
All right, so followupthem.com.
Yep.
And then you send your email off and you forget about it. And then whatever date you put in that blind copy field in your follow-up email address on that date, and sometimes even at that time, the email will come back to you, reminding you of whatever you wanted to be reminded of.
Because in that case, because you could email that to me and then go over to your calendar app and make a reminder. And, hey, remind me to, follow up with Seth on this. Set a date, this, that, and the other.
Yeah, or you could set a reminder in your phone. You could set a reminder in whatever task management system that you use, But that's one extra step. And these services, whether it's followup.cc or followupthen.com, they remove that step out of your workflow so that it's as simple, literally, as just addressing another recipient in your email. And I don't know about you, but on a daily basis, every morning, I've been using followup.cc for almost a year and a half, maybe even almost 2 years now. And every morning, especially during the week, my inbox gets a good chunk of followup.cc reminders and notifications. And I like it because I know I can trust that list of emails because I've set it up myself. It's curated by me, and it's curated by me knowing that that's what I need to be looking at today. That's what's important right now. Because another great example, especially on the press side of things, is that if you're getting a photo pass request, like, hey, I want to take photos at this show that's in 6 months from now, it's very easy for me to say, hey, thanks for reaching out. I'll hit you back about a week before the show. And then in that email, in the blind copy field, put a week before whatever show date they're talking about. And then a week before the show happens, I get a notification that reminds me to say, hey, follow up with this person and confirm whatever it is they were looking to do.
I'll second, too, the reliability of that. I've told this to other people, these services, and the question always comes up, yeah, but what if it forgets? What if it doesn't? And that's never happened to me.
Never happened.
No. So forwarding these things, BCC or forwarding it to just an email address, like whenever you want to be reminded of it, man, it works. And it just comes back to you when you're ready for it, when you want to work on it. So,
I mean, full disclosure, I don't know if you've had this, but follow-up.cc specifically offers way more features than I use it for. They have like task management integration. I think they even have an Evernote integration in beta that I just haven't dug into because it is such a proven system for what I needed to do that I kind of don't want to mess with it for anything else.
Yeah, totally. No, I hear that. Follow up then. I see every now and again their new features. And for both of these sites, both of these services, that could be something for, if you're listening to check out for yourself, maybe something that they offer is something that you're looking for. So,
oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Totally dig into it.
Yeah. Don't take my, my jaded opinion of a tool. I'm sure most people can get a lot more out of it than I do, but it's super useful. I use it every day, completely honest. And I highly, highly recommend it. So,
yeah.
So the next one is one I put on the list. It's called Sanebox. Have you ever used this before?
I have not, no.
All right. Well, it's a little bit different. It's not a follow. I mean, they have a lot of the same features as Follow Up does, but I use it for their folder system. And the idea behind Sanebox is to control your spam and control emails that you don't want to receive, or control emails from people you don't want to receive emails from. And again, there's a lot more features available than I use, but what I use it for specifically is just an extra level of buffer or filter in my inbox. So if I'm getting press releases or newsletters or stuff that's really not that important that I don't have to check right away, I could check it once a day, once every other day. That's where those emails go. They go into my Sanebox folder, which gets set up when you set up your account. And another feature, which I don't even know if you know about, but I have a feeling you might even try it because of this, but there's a folder that they offer called Sane Black Hole. Now,
I think I remember you telling me about it.
Oh, this is awesome. So say you get an email from, like, I don't know, penis enlargements or Viagra or something in Russian. You drag that email over to Sane Black Hole, and you will never get an email from that recipient ever again. Which is awesome because how many times do you get an email from, not only spam, but even somebody that you really don't want to deal with or you don't want to hear from again.
Correct.
All I have to do is drag that email into the same black hole, and it's like throwing that email off a cliff, and it feels awesome.
Use it because it's your inbox. You got to guard it. So, yeah, absolutely.
So, Sanebox.com, it's about $7 a month for a very basic plan. Totally worth it. I've recommended it to a bunch of friends of mine. Almost all of them use it now. Same goes for followup.cc and Follow-Up. How much do you pay for Follow-Up then?
I don't. I'm still using the free version.
Okay, so I'm using the pro version just because I use it very heavily, and that's about I'm using mine's about $15 a month, but I'm using like the premium, like unlimited, so I don't have to worry about bumping up against any kind of quota or anything.
Sure.
Now the next one, I realize these are all mine at this point.
That's okay.
The next one is one that I've been using for a long time that I never hear anybody talk about. It's called Lettermelater. Again, that's lettermelater.com. Now, what this does is it enables you to schedule emails to be sent later. Now, I don't know about you, Seth, but that is one of the most powerful tactics I have had in my email game in the last couple of years. Because when you send an email versus when someone receives it is so crucial in today's email etiquette and email practice that it became such a everyday use for me. Now, Lettermelater, if you go to lettermelater.com, it's probably one of the most ugly looking websites I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's not a very Web 3.0 or whatever version we're on looking site.
No, the UI looks horrible, and that might deter some people. And maybe that's why I don't hear anyone ever talk about it. But it is a bulldozer. It has never not worked for me, and it is always on par. It has never failed. So what it lacks for in HTML5, I guess you could say, it makes up for in functionality. So the basis of this is you can schedule emails to be sent later. Now, they have a webmail portal through Lettermelater that you can use, which enables you to schedule emails right from the web. Or, which is what I use, you can use it from any email client, whether you use MacMail, Thunderbird, Entourage, Outlook, whatever. And if you send whatever email you're trying to schedule to me@lettermelater.com, which is essentially your personal email address since it's coming from your email address, so it recognizes it. And the first couple of lines of the email, you put to whoever the email is going to. You can put carbon copies or blind carbon copies. And then you put when you want it to go at the very top of the email body, followed by your actual email text. It will send it to the lettermelater.com server and schedule it. Now, if you're out, it's a really good example of why you would want to schedule email. Like I did it today. Like there's some stuff for work that I was doing that, I'm sending emails on a Sunday morning, but I don't want to send emails on a Sunday morning. I don't want to be...
Because you're going to get replies on a Sunday afternoon.
Exactly. So I scheduled all these emails to go out on Monday morning at 9 a.m. And, which is when, obviously, regular business starts. Whether it's that or whether it's, you can have the opposite effect. Whether a lot of my press schedules or any kind of stuff for my bands on tour, I always send to the tour manager at night at 8 or 9 o'clock. And I do that because that's usually when, they're into the show, their band's on stage, they're at least loaded in, and it's a little less hectic, and they're thinking about the next day already. And that's when that email for the next day hits. And I'm much more likely to get a tour manager that receives my email, logs it in whatever system they use, and have that stuff actually happen, whether it's an interview or a guest list or a photo pass, what have you. But you could use this for anything. Like, you could use this for, whether you have a 9 to 5 in a regular office. If you want to, send an email, for, a half an hour after you actually leave, you can do that. And, and your boss gets the email and says, wow, this guy's staying late tonight. That's awesome. So it's a very
or if you, yeah, totally. Or if you want to write that email and you're starving and you're like, I got to go eat. I just want to get this email done, but schedule it for afterwards. When you're back in front of your computer to be able to handle or reply from it.
Yeah. And there's a lot to be said for scheduling email too. I can't tell you how many times I've scheduled an email or a schedule or something that changes after the fact that I send it. And all I have to do, and especially if it hasn't sent yet, all I have to do is log into Lettermelater and make the change and click update, and that email is updated. And how many times have you sent an email where you've sent it and 10 minutes later you're like, oh crap, that was wrong, or I shouldn't have said that, or this could have been better, or there was a mistake. And if you're scheduling emails, even 5 minutes later after you intend to send them, that goes away, and those mistakes and those regrets easily go away.
That's cool.
And on the same note, so Lettermelater.com, go check it out. I think it's about $20 a year, which is money well spent in my opinion.
That's ridiculously low. Yes.
Yeah, well, I guess all that money's going into their back end and not their user
end.
Right. And on the same note, there's one called Sendlater, which I started using only a couple months ago, which is a MacMail plugin. Forgetting the developer name, but I think they're a company based out of the UK, and they make a bunch of plugins too. Which, like, if you're interested in checking it out, go to just Google Sendlater MacMail plugin. But it actually works right in your MacMail interface, which is pretty cool. But the only difference between Sendlater and Lettermelater is that Sendlater works off of your machine, whereas Lettermelater works off a server. So you can schedule 5 emails using Lettermelater, close your laptop, and walk out of the building, and they will still send. But with Sendlater, your email has to be open and on and connected for it to work. So I've been using that more for like, send this 3 hours from now if I'm in a work day, or 5 minutes, or at the end of the day, at a time where I know my laptop's going to be on. Which it still happens. And if you're interested in delaying your email, I'm at the point now where I'm using these 2 tools in tandem for different uses. So I've gotten a lot of use out of it.
I'll chime in with Evernote. Evernote's not really an email tool, I guess.
I love Evernote.
But yeah, Bill and I are big Evernote nerds here. And the biggest thing I love about Evernote is it gives you an email address that you could send emails to. So I find it super helpful when I get an email at the start of, say, a project or a freelance project or a story or whatever else. Instead of keeping it, it stays like on the email server, but I'll forward it to Evernote and then create my own kind of file system over there rather than leaving everything in email, because when it's in Evernote and I'm working on it or I'm making changes to it or I'm just keeping this small little database of what this thing is about, I'm also not in my inbox being distracted by the 13 new emails that just showed up. So Evernote's big on that, and we'll get into that later, that kind of thinking.
Evernote is big if you want to archive certain types of email. Like I use it for archiving emails that are important or they contain very crucial information. I know that it's going to be stored on a server somewhere, and I can easily search for it in my email. But if I just forward it over to Evernote, or I could even reply back to somebody and then put my super secret Evernote email address, which if you use Evernote, you get a email address that enables you to email things into your Evernote inbox. So if you just go to preferences and look for that, you can find it. But you can even reply back to people and put your Evernote email address in the blind, the BCC field, and it will still arrive in your inbox. Another quick tip on that is, I think you told me about this, Seth. Like, if you receive newsletters from different sources, whatever you might be into, whether it's Home Depot or CVS or Target, like I know my wife loves, you can put your Evernote email address in your Target profile or whatever profile you're using. So those newsletters don't even hit your inbox; they come straight into your Evernote account. And you can archive them or do whatever you want with them from there. The whole point is getting just one extra email out of your inbox, which is the whole point of this episode.
Absolutely. For me, I've started to move subscriptions from labels, from just people I follow. I'll have them sent to my Evernote account, because when I want to read them, because a lot of it is stuff I want to read, and there's times I don't want to be in my inbox. So when I have the time, I'll go over to Evernote and start reading through that stuff. That also segues really well into Unroll Me.
Yeah, that's
holy moly.
Have you used that?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, I've been using it for a little while now, and it's one of those services that I signed up for, and I don't even realize it's there because it just works so well. On the same token of getting newsletters and just not spam, because there's stuff, it's stuff that you want to get, it's stuff that you want to read, but if you subscribe to a couple of dozen different websites, newsletters, or retail outlets or whatever, it can get overwhelming. So Unroll, it's actually unroll.me. I think it's free. I'm pretty sure it's free. You sign up, you put your email address in there, and all of your subscription email newsletters will get rolled up, quote unquote. And that's the whole point of the name, Unroll. And you'll get kind of like a digest every morning of what new subscriptions you may have signed up for, or what ones you may have already have, and it just gives you a report, I guess, or lack of a better term, of what is coming into your inbox. And then, with every digest, I guess you could say, in the mornings that you get, you can curate, and it's up to you of what stays in and what goes out. And it's pretty helpful.
Absolutely. Cleaning up that inbox.
Yeah. So hopefully, between followup.cc or followupthen.com, Sanebox, Lettermelater, Sendlater, Old Faithful, Evernote, and Unroll Me can maybe help you get a little bit of control in your inbox in 2015. Because if you're out there and you're not doing anything, you're just living in your inbox, and you have 2,000 emails in your inbox, 1,000 of them are unread, this show is for you, because there's no reason to live like that. I know you hate it. We hate seeing it. I know you don't feel like it's under control, and those 6 tools will help you get that under control on your way to inbox zero.
Speaking of inbox zero.
Yeah.
No. For those that don't know the origin of that, that's a guy named Merlin Mann.
Yes.
Who kind of penned that.
He doesn't go by Merlin Mann anymore.
What do you mean?
I don't know. Didn't he give up the moniker? I think you may have.
No.
You sure?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Okay.
Well, either or. Guy, he's the guy that started writing about inbox zero, and he became like the inbox zero guru. And the biggest thing he stressed, and I think it really turns off a lot of people to that thing, is he didn't really mean inbox zero, as if you either have zero or you suck. It's not that. It's the kind of talks and writing that he used to do that led to people like me and Bill talking about this stuff a lot. So yeah. It's just starting the conversation about this stuff and making changes, which we'll get into here.
Yeah, there's a bunch of behaviors that you can adopt or even look into or try, or maybe just do one at a time, that might make your workday a little bit more manageable than it was yesterday. And one of the first one is one that I cannot stress enough, and it's actually one I've even reintroduced into my workflow at the start of this year, and that's using mail clients that offer an offline mode. And if you don't know what that means, all it means is that in your email client, whether you're using Mac Mail, Entourage, Outlook, search for an offline mode. I know all 3 of those offer it, and what that does is it just turns off the internet to your email client, so that you're able to work in your email inbox or your folders or whatever system you have set up without new mail coming in. Because the worst thing and the biggest productivity zap is if you're working on a couple of emails that are a couple days old and need your attention, you got to get some stuff done, and then you have a new email come in, ping, another email come in, ping, and all you're doing is going back and forth and just falling into that multitasking trap, and you're just zapping the amount of work that you're going to get done. So turn on the offline mode, work offline, plow through the list of emails that you need to get through, and then turn it back on. The emails that you send will be in your outbox. They'll send when you turn it back on. And turn it back on, the new emails will come in, your sent emails will go out, and then turn it off again, and then start the process. This way, you're working within a controlled environment without any distractions, so that you can get through your email.
And seriously, being able to spend the attention on each of those emails, your undivided attention, is huge. And it's just going to make you work better and write better emails and be a better communicator. Right.
And the next, another trick that I've used is based off of productivity Bible, I guess you could say, is it's processing your email into 4 folders, and this comes from the getting things done mentality from David Allen, who wrote the book Getting Things Done. I highly recommend it. Google it, search for it on Amazon, read it. It'll change your life. But it's basically adopting the process of putting your emails into 4 folders, and 4 folders only. And that is action, delegate, defer, or reference. Or just delete it, because if you don't need it and it doesn't fit into any of those 4 categories, just delete it, because you're not going to need it. So action would be, okay, I have to do something with this. This has triggered me thinking of something I need to do. Delegate means, whether you have a staff, whether you're dealing with people that are working under you, whether you have an intern, that's a folder where you can put things where other people get to do those things. Defer means it's something that you need to do, but not today, maybe not even this week. You fill up that folder with stuff that is really not pertinent right now. Reference is, it's exactly what it means, just a reference. It doesn't fit under action, delegate, or defer, and it's just a chunk of information that you need to remember. Or, my favorite, just delete it.
Delete it. I love it. I do a lot of deleting, that's for sure.
All right. The next one is actually a little more modern way of working with email, and I still struggle with this, but I do try, and that's processing your emails at regular intervals throughout the day. I mean, if you're listening to this podcast, you have some interest in productivity, and you may have read, working on your email twice a day, 3 times a day, 4 times a day. And what I've learned with that is, processing email and sorting email kind of fall into 2 different categories for me. So if I'm checking email and I'm moving stuff around and I'm putting stuff into different folders, that's not processing email. Processing email is when you sit down and you're going to work on your email. And when you turn offline mode on and you're plowing through your inbox, that's working on email. So can you do that 3 or 4 times a day? I've done it. I haven't done it all the time. I do it as much as I can. But when I do it that way, I can definitely say I get a lot more done.
Yeah, I for sure, almost your offline, because I use webmail primarily on my laptop, and for years I've just, always have that tab open, always have it, nope, turn it off.
Right.
If I'm working on something, I close that tab, and then once I'm done with that thing and I check it off, maybe not so much to your intervals point of it's not 12 o'clock yet, I'm not going to open it yet, but even just a small behavioral change of while I'm doing this, email is off, it's a beautiful thing. Yeah,
and I always love the example of the dog from that movie Up. Have you seen that?
I have not.
Well, the dog has a collar on that enables it to the collar enables you to hear what the dog is thinking, and the dog is talking to it's the little boy. He's like, throw the ball, and then he hears something, and his head jerks to the side, and he goes, squirrel. And I can't help but think that's a lot of people's email notifications, that they're working on something intensively, and their email notification goes off, and they look, it's what is that? And the same goes for text messages or Facebook posts or Twitter notifications. I mean, we've come to a point where we're just so distracted by notifications from not only email, but everything. So do yourself a favor this year. Turn off your notifications. All of them. Don't have any of them on.
At least, baby steps. Start small. Maybe turn off Facebook notification. But totally, I agree with this 1,000%. Turning off that stuff is. I mean, there's studies on this. Just Google New York Times multitasking, and there's some great articles on there about how constantly changing your attention, work. Oh, email, work, Twitter. It just zaps your productivity. It zaps your mental state. Days of doing that, hours doing that, weeks doing that, you just get exhausted.
Yeah, and if you're finding that we're talking about you, and you're getting home from work every day, and you feel like you just ran a marathon, maybe that's why. I mean, studies have shown that when our brains click from one thing to the next all day long, it just zaps the amount of energy both mentally and physically, that we can expend on what we're trying to do. And if you just make one little change, it could mean the difference of, not feeling like a zombie by the time you get home.
Totally.
And another really good example I heard the other day is that, if you're cooking, or if you're in your kitchen and you ran out of salt, would you drop what you're doing and go out and get salt, like right then and there? No, like grocery shopping is done by, keeping a list, or whether it's mental or physical, and you go grocery shopping once a week, once every 2 weeks, maybe even 2-3 times a week, whatever it is. But the point is that they're in intervals. They're at dedicated times where you're accomplishing buying a multitude of things at one time. So email is a lot of the same way, where you should be tackling a lot of emails in one sitting, not just doing one at a time, like a hunting and pecking technique.
Totally. I found I actually removed email from my phone.
I saw you did that. That's pretty bold, man. Like, yeah. I don't know if I could do that.
I got this from my buddy Wells Tipley. I did some work with him out on Long Island. And I remember, I forget how we got talking about it, but something about our iPhones or whatever like that. And like, he's like, no, I don't have email on my iPhone. I'm like, whoa, what? He's like, no, he just dealt with his email when he was either on his laptop, at a coffee shop, or when he was home, in front of his computer. Like, that's awesome.
I'm pretty jealous, man. Like, I don't think I'm at a point where I can do that, but that is pretty impressive.
Yeah. For me, it's baby steps for me, but like, finally taking it off my iPhone, it was just like, you know what? In the time that I'm not accessible by email on my phone, well, I'll just get to it when I'm on my laptop. So,
I guess that's true, man. I mean, if someone really needs to get in touch with me, and they have my cell, they could probably just text me,
Right.
That's crazy.
Unfortunately, we've trained everyone in our lives that when they send us an email, we send it right back. You know what I mean?
Not if you're using Lettermelater or a Sendlater.
That is true, and hopefully 2015 will be a year of behavioral changes in that sense.
I have done that. Like, I have very specifically set a 3-hour interval on my responses to people, just to create that distance between me and them, so that they don't expect me to respond back to them immediately.
That's beautiful.
I mean, not everybody. I've probably done that less than just responding back on people that I have a much better rapport with.
Sure.
But if it's a situation where I can see, like, I think if I respond back, he's going to start expecting that all the time, I will definitely create that distance between us.
Yeah. Well, one more thing, behavior wise, is checking your email before you're doing something big.
Yeah. What did you mean by that?
You know what? When I was going to do when we had a call scheduled to talk about doing this show, right before we got on Skype to do this, like, I saw because I had the web tab open, new email. Well, you know what? No, like, this is like a minute before, and not like I have an explosion of craziness that comes to me in my email inbox, but it's just like, you know what? No, I can't do anything about it anyways, because I have to get on a call in a minute.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, like, I mean, there's been times where, for instance, say like a Noise Creep, when we had a band come in or something like that, or we had a interview scheduled. Like, I'm not going to check my email 5 minutes before that, because no matter what it is, I can't do anything about it. Like, so I'm just going to be away from email. Like, it could be frightening to do, but it's like the best thing you can do, especially if it's a conference call. Or how many times, I'm guilty of this, I'm sure you are too, Bill, but you're on a phone with someone and you're looking at your emails come in.
Oh, forget about a phone, whether you're talking to someone in person. I hate that, man. I'll be having conversations with people, and in the mid-conversation, they'll whip out their phone and start looking at it. It's like, am I boring you? Should I come back? Anyway, that's my own pet peeve.
A tiny behavioral thing. I mean, definitely like before the big things that you're doing, but yes, totally in person. I mean, it's crazy as well. But yeah, I mean, just handling emails when you're ready to handle them. Like the idea of fumbling with your phone in the middle of a busy street to hurry up and reply to someone, like it's probably not life or death.
Right. It's not to say you can't do it, but
well, sure.
The whole point of bringing this up and talking about it is so that people actually stop and think about it. We're not saying that you shouldn't reply back right away or you shouldn't have email on your phone, but if it's preventing you from being a better worker or getting more done or spending more time with your family or having time to do the things that you want to do on the side, whether it's creatively, if you want to be a writer, you want to be in a band or whatever it is, all this is so that you can create more time to do the things you want. And because there's nothing worse than, plowing through your email on a Monday and then coming back on Tuesday with more on your plate than when you left on Monday. Just by making a few of these changes, we'll prevent that, and we'll hopefully put a few more hours into your week where you can actually do the things that you love.
Totally. That's it. Absolutely.
Totally. There's a couple more etiquette things that we should probably touch on before we wrap up that I think deserve some attention on this episode. And one of my biggest ones is do not treat email like an instant message conversation. We have Facebook chat, we have Google chat, we have AIM for those of you who still use it. There's a multitude of chat apps out there, WhatsApp, whatever. If you need to talk to somebody online, request, say, hey, can you jump on chat for a second so we can flesh some stuff out? Or, if you use something like Slack or something like HipChat.
HipChat, yeah.
Yeah, jump into there where you can flesh some things out, because there's nothing worse than someone trying to treat an email conversation like an instant message conversation, which just ends up being 20, 30, 40, even sometimes I've seen 50 emails over something that could have been either done quickly over text message or any kind of chat option, or dare I say even over the phone.
Oh, pick up the phone, Bill.
Sometimes, I'm the biggest proponent of staying off the phone. I know people will disagree with me on that, but it is necessary sometimes. But if you find yourself treating emails like an instant message conversation, stop, request, hey, let's jump on a chat real quick and we can get some stuff done. It will save dozens of emails throughout the week for you.
Yeah, I love that one.
What about replying all nightmares? Have you ever had that happen to you?
Yes, with not me directly. I was on the side involved with this. I won't mention any names, of course, but it did involve a time with BuzzGrinder, and it was just, someone forwarded me something, and I want to try to beat around the bush with who or how it might have been involved, but let's just say, someone hit a reply all, and it just got ugly.
Just don't do it.
Just don't, mind your reply all. My goodness. Like, look at it, triple check. Dude, I'm to the point now where even when I get some forwards from people and stuff like that, and I I want a quick reply to it, sometimes I just create a new email. Like, just, even if I see there is no reply all, I don't care. Like, it's almost like I'm just I'm making definitely sure that it doesn't turn into a nightmare.
I have trained myself not even to use it, and maybe that has faulted me along the way in some instances. But I just opt to not reply all first, and then before I send my email, if I see that there's people not on there that need to be, I make sure that they are. But I've had some nightmares early on in my career that I do not want to revisit. So that's a really good tip. Just don't reply all if you know, especially if you're dealing with sensitive information. And
if you're airing it's almost the kind of stuff like, man, if you don't ever want someone to read like what you're about to write in your email, don't write it.
Yeah.
Just don't.
On the same page as replying all is just using your BCC field, your blank copy field, or blind carbon copy field correctly. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten emails from, I won't even say the profession, but emails from people where there are 30, 40, 50 different colleagues of mine from other companies, those of which may not have each other's contact, and it's just one giant email to one giant email list, all in the to field. So point being is, if you're going to send an email to a bunch of people that may not know each other, just use the blank copy field. Just throw them in there. They'll appreciate it. It'll keep you out of trouble, because then what happens is sometimes people that are on that list might get contact and they might not want their contact shared, and it's just a lot easier just to use the blank copy field. And plus, if you use the blank copy field, that eliminates the possibility of somebody else doing a reply all by accident and having them make a fool of themselves.
Totally. Oh my goodness.
And what's the next one, Seth? You probably have more of an experience with that than I do.
Man, this one, don't send large attachments. Oh, this.
Well, let's be clear. What is large attachments in 2015?
I would say, I guess because internet speeds have gotten quicker, this or that. Like, I guess it would be over 5 meg. But yeah, I just remember so much, in the editorial realm. I need a press photo from a band, and I would reach out to a contact, and hey, I need a press photo, and they would send me the press photo, and it'd be 25 megabytes because it's 8,000 pixels by 5,000 at 300 DPI for print. I just need a JPEG, please.
Yeah, for web.
Yeah, it happens so much. So the biggest thing with that, there are countless, Dropbox being this biggest one that Bill and I could probably agree on, of like, upload the image or the file or whatever it is that we're talking about that you want to send, put it on Dropbox. It gives you a share link. Then you just email the share link, because when you email a 20 megabyte email to someone, remember, you're not the only person sending an email to that person. Because your email is 20 megabytes big, that like clogs up basically the internet pretty much, and those other emails aren't getting in as efficiently because they're waiting for yours. So don't do that.
I always equate it to, if you're jogging with a bunch of people and someone comes out of nowhere and just drops a 50-pound sandbag in your arms, like that. That's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
A large attachment. It's like, whoa, that just slowed me down right where I was working, and like has brought me to a crawl.
Absolutely. And also ease up with the if you send an email to someone, don't send an email 2 hours later. Hey, just checking to see if you got that email. Or a voicemail.
It's not just emails. It's voicemails,
right.
IMs, text, phone calls, Facebook messages, tweets. I've had people tweet at me like, "Hey, did you get my email?" It's like, whoa, man, that doesn't make me want to read it now.
Look, we're not saving lives here. Like, that email can wait. Again, you don't know how. This really goes to again, coming back to Merlin Mann. He wrote this pebble idea, is that every email that you send is a pebble. And while your email, like, oh, what's it matter? It's just one pebble, but the person you're sending it to might have a bucket of rocks on their end. Like,
right, and bucket of rocks are heavy, Seth.
Well, they are, yes. Well, okay, a lot of pebbles. But so you coming out of the woodwork and messaging me on Facebook or something, hey, stop. Don't we'll get back to you.
Yeah, totally. Well, hopefully that wasn't too much to digest. If you're starting to listen to this and don't know where to start, don't feel like you have to take on all of these on day one. We certainly didn't. This is stuff that we've curated over years of practice and plenty of failures, and some of these are the successes that we've seen. But just pick one. That's my final thought is, if you take nothing from this show, just choose one thing out of all this, and it will make your email life that much better.
Absolutely. And start 2015 off on a good note. And just, again, we all deal with so much email. And if you can get that kind of organized or better suited, for your workday, I mean, it can let you do other cool stuff in the process.
Right. Again, like I can't emphasize this enough, is that the whole point of doing all this isn't just to be cool and have the latest and greatest toy when it comes to work productivity. It's to create extra time. It's to work less and do more things that you want to do. It's to be able to do the creative things that you want to do and not have to just be working all the time. I'll end with this. I read an article the other day where it said, it was an article from, I think, like 1920 or 30, where it said by 2020, the average workday will be 3 hours long, and most people will have to work because they want to, not because they have to. Then why are we so busy, Seth? Why are people busier now than ever?
Because there's all these emails coming in that demand your attention, and that's how we're creating our to-do list every single minute.
It's because no one is teaching anyone how to deal with this stuff. It's all just falling in our laps, and everyone is just handling it the best they know how. There was no email class in college. There was no productivity discussions when I was in high school. This is all new, and it's all new to people that are even our age and older. And it will only get worse if you do not address it. And that's the point. Just address it. And whatever that means for you, just address it.
Love it. Well, this has been,
Yeah, episode 1, man. High five.
Yeah, totally. Cyber high five. This has been a good time, and we'll come back and do this again.
Yeah, where can people find out more?
Where can they find out more? Workbench.com, correct?
Workbenchpodcast.com.
Well, there we go. Look at that. I learned something.
Yeah, check out workbenchpodcast.com. You can follow Seth on Twitter at SethW. You can follow me on Twitter at Bill Meese. That's M as in Mary, E-I-S as in sandwich. And hopefully we get to do more of these. And thank you for listening.
See ya.